All right, all right. Let me adjust this real quick. This is Rod Hill, your digital tech launcher, where I help entrepreneurs, coaches, and experts develop their web presence, specifically through web development, social media setup, and lead generation components. So I got a pretty good subject I'm gonna share today. If people chime in, that'll be great. I'll see you when you get in here, but I want to go ahead and get started because for the sake of time, first shout out to Kat for allowing us to do this on Teach Me Tuesday. So what I want to go over, I think this would be helpful for everybody. And I entitled this stream Size Matters, just trying to put a pun on it. But what I'm actually talking about is size in terms of photos. So what does that have to do with anything dealing with online or web design? Well, real simple. If you guys already have a website or you're working on a site, or like say, for instance, you're using a program like Wix or maybe even doing WordPress, which I'm going to come to WordPress in just a second. When it comes to your images, they actually play a huge part in terms of your website. And one of the biggest things about when it comes to web design and making sure your site is properly optimized is speed. Okay. Now you have a lot of things that play in the play when it comes to speed. It could be anything from a person from Australia trying to access your site versus someone that's in New York, but you're actually in Georgia. So the speed that it travels makes a difference, but the development of your site too. So we're talking about in specific images. I've seen a lot of people that really don't know what I'm getting ready to tell you. Their site is really slow, and a lot of it is because their sites are trying to access these huge image files. So this is what we're going to go over. Before I do, I want to say, hey, Yvette, how you doing? And Miss Tondra, I see you chimed in. She'll say, hey, y'all. All right. So let's and based on the title, ladies, we're talking about images. So y'all know what I mean. So anyway, all right. So this is what I'm gonna talk about real quick about images. So you have three type of main images. One of them you really won't see unless you're dealing with like a professional photographer, and that's called a raw image, RAW. So this is the image, like say you had professional photos done, and it's probably an image that you probably couldn't open. They'll usually give you two types, and Energy can attest to this. It's usually a file called RAW and then one called JPEG. The raw ones are basically, you more than likely won't get those because that's more for unless you plan on editing your photos. So you probably won't get those. All right, but more than likely you'll get the second one, which is the JPEG. Now JPEG is the most common format, and when it comes to web design, JPEGs is the best format because it's smaller in size, right? And that's really the main thing. Is it's smaller in size. So when you add it to your website, it makes your website load faster is the word I'm looking for. So it helps load it faster. Now there's another one. So you got RAW, you have JPEG, and then you have a third kind, which is called a PNG. Forgot what the acronym stands for, but this is a file format where let's say you guys have you're taking pictures where you have a clear background or a solid background, and then you had editing done to your banners, and you notice that the background was taken off from behind your banner. So they use what's called a PNG, and that file format is used for transparency. So you're going to see that a lot when it comes to your web design. This is an incredible format, but those files are a tad bit larger than JPEG, but they still both work. So again, JPEG and PNG are the main ones you're going to use. The raw files, if you have those, great, but you definitely don't want to use those on your website because they won't load anyway. All right, so in terms of size, the best format that I recommend is JPEG unless you're using that transparency. Then you have to use PNG. Now, a couple of tips real quick on your images. And again, we're focusing on the speed in terms of your site loading. So the more you optimize the images on your web pages, the faster they will load. That's the whole point. Now you got two within JPEGs, and this actually for PNG too. And if you don't edit photos, then you may not understand these terms, but at least you'll find out now. So you'll better be able to communicate with your with whoever your designer is that's doing your images or graphics. So one of the things is DPI. Now that DPI stands for dots per inch. So what it is that you have an image, and this image is made up, especially JPEGs, are made up of a whole bunch of dots, like millions and millions and millions of dots. So DPI means that how many dots are in that particular image to make up that image. So for an example, if you're doing something like a print media, like magazine or something like that, then you want to have a high DPI, which is usually around 300. All right, just like I said, if you don't understand, just follow the numbers. Your designers know what I'm talking about. So that's 300 DPI. You don't want to use those images on your website, though, because those images are large. And if you try to use those, number one, they're going to show up large. And number two, even if your theme or whatever you're using resizes them, they may not do a completely separate file. And it might just use that and just resize that large image. And that still affects your speed. So be aware of that. The best thing to do for web images, you want to do about 72 DPI. All right, so it'll still give you a crisp image. And again, it depends on how big the image is on the screen too. But 72 DPI is really optimized for web. So that way it'll still be a good clear image, but yet it won't slow down your website. All right, let's see who else jumped in. Hey, Sabrina, how you doing this evening? Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Oh, thank you, Tandra. Portable network graphics. See, I knew people knew that stuff. So that's what PNG stands for. All right. So anyway, so JPEG is the, again, DPI is one thing you look at. The other thing is your actual pixel size. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Now with WordPress, this again, you guys see me in live stream before talk about WordPress. I love WordPress because they, most of the time, the themes that you use, when you go in and add your image to the media library, maybe one day I'll show you guys. But when you go to the media library, it'll actually resize the photo for you. But sometimes it depends on what photo it is. So here's a little trick that you can do, especially if you have access to something like if you use some type of photo editor. This is a trick that I do. Most of the templates or whatever you're using, whether it's Wix or something, they'll usually have what's called placeholders. So it may be just like a stock image sitting there. So what you want to do is right click on it, and then you'll click see if I can remember this off the top of my head. You'll right click on it. I believe there's a section that says view image info, and then you'll look to see what the pixel size is for that particular image, because more than likely when they designed that template, they designed with the right sizes in mind, so to speak. So usually what I'll do, I'll right click on it and get the image info, then go into my photo editor, and then when I do a new document, I'll do the exact pixel sizes that they used for that stock video. That stock photo. All right. Then once you open it up in your editor, right, then you take whatever picture you were going to actually use and then copy and paste it inside there and adjust it that way. And then when you save it, it'll actually be the exact same size that the stock photo was. I do that a lot, and it helps a lot when it comes to the speed of your website by having the exact dimensions or pixels, I should say, pixel size of that image. Now, for those that don't know how to do that, this is one of the reasons why, again, I like using WordPress, because a lot of times those themes, when you upload to the media library, it's going to make a copy of it and then do another copy based on that image size. But again, either way works. If you're using Wix, you may have to use that. I don't use Wix a lot, but from what I do remember, that does help to do that trick I just showed you. Let me see, anything else that I am missing? So I talked about, so again, this really wasn't a step 1, 2, 3 on this one. I just really wanted to talk about the 3 different types of file formats that you have, main ones anyway, that you'll mainly see when it comes to your images. And then again, PNG for transparency, and JPEG for size. Now, one thing I will say, if you are trying to get that look where you don't have a background and it's just you, you personally, then you're going to have to use PNG, because that's the only format that uses transparency. If you try to save it in a JPEG and you upload it, it's always going to default, more than likely, depending on what you got it set on, but most likely it'll default to a white background. Okay, so anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to share with you. I think I covered everything, so this is pretty much long enough, so I won't go any longer. It's already 10 minutes, but hopefully that information helped you. Again, my name is Rod Hill. I am your digital tech launcher. Again, I help entrepreneurs, coaches, and experts with their web presence, specifically with web development, social media setup, and lead generation components. All right. Until next Tuesday, I will see you guys then. You take care. And thank you, guys. And thank you, Sabrina. Sabrina just came in. Hey, Sabrina. Thank y'all for joining. And for those that see the replay, hopefully this will help you. Okay. Take care. And I'll see you next week.